Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is David, this is David K Reacts, and today we have a bonus video, and this one is coming out because today, i.e. the 16th of October, marks the 1-year anniversary since I started reacting, and I thought it would be a lot of fun to do something to mark that occasion. So this is a break in Halloween month. We are not doing a Halloween-themed song today. In fact, we are going to be looking at Geoff Castellucci's version of House of the Rising Sun. Now, this is something I've been keen to get to for quite a long time. I love the song. It's a fantastic piece of music, originally performed by the Animals, in terms of what everybody tends to know, but actually an older song than that. It was first collected in Appalachia in the 30s, but there's belief that it's probably going to be from sort of the traditional English folk canon, and therefore significantly older than that. I did a cursory glance, as I tend to do, and I can't say I have any more information than that, and I don't know if there even is any more information than that. But definitely older than we all think, but of course the Animals being the version that most of us know, and then there have been a ton of covers since. This was a very, very successful song, hit #1 in the US, the UK, and Canada. It's been certified gold in Denmark, it's been certified platinum in Italy and in the UK, so significant success there. This was actually released in June 1964, and one of the things I discovered about this while looking it up was that it was actually recorded in a single take just a month before that, which is phenomenal. Single take... Oh, hello. We have a visitor already. He says, hi. You say hi to all of your fans? No, you're just going to complain, aren't you? Yeah, it's one of those days. Anything that gets recorded in one take, I find astonishing. Like, the skill that's required to do that. Especially, you know, going back before digital recording options and things like that. It's astonishing. The musicianship and the talent that's required for one takes is quite amazing. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about Geoff's version, and on top of that, there is going to be a super special bonus surprise in the analysis section of this video. So keep an eye out, and you may want to pay attention, even if you're someone who doesn't always watch analysis sides of videos, because there's a bonus coming in there that I think you might enjoy. But for now, I think that's all I have to say about the song. Oh. And Timmy's throwing my phone on the floor. So we're going to jump in on this. I will say welcome back to my channel. Welcome if this is your first time here. The way this is going to work, I'm going to watch the video through from beginning to end without stopping, no pauses, just emoting and commenting over the top. I will then go back to the beginning, watch it through again, offering what commentary and analysis I feel I can, and that time will be interrupted frequently. And as I mentioned earlier, there is a super special bonus today to sort of have a bit of fun for the anniversary video, and I'm not going to spoil what that is. You'll have to wait till the end of the reaction to see that. But if you are just here for the reaction, the first quarter or so of the video should be good for you. Please do like the video, hit that subscribe button. It costs you nothing but does amazing things for me. It really would appreciate it. You can hit the notification bell and decide if you want to be notified every time I post, never, whatever sort of suits you. And if you would care to, please do head over to buymeacoffee.com/DavidKReacts, where you can donate to support the channel. Not necessary, but very much appreciated if you should choose to do so. And I would like to say thank you to Starry Night Diner, aka Ellen von Reiser, who not only bought me a coffee recently, but in doing so was alerting me to the existence of a piece of artwork that she produced, which I absolutely love, and I just wanted to share with you for a second here. And this is a whole bunch of different reactors that Ellen enjoys, and she featured me in this, and I just thought this is really cool. So I wanted to share it with you for a second. You can find it over on her website, starrynightdiner.com. And yeah, that's just a little bit of fun, but do go and check out her artwork. It's really, really cool. I think that's everything for now, so without any further delay, this is going to be Mr. Geoff Castellucci and his take on House of the Rising Sun.
There is a house in New Orleans.
Love the simplicity of that as an intro. Just his voice. Ooh.
And it's been the ruin of many a poor boy. And God, I know I'm one. My mother.   mother.    mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.    mother.    mother.    mother.    mother.    mother.    mother.    mother.    mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother.   mother. my new blue jeans. Daddy was a gambling man way down in New Orleans.
Woohoo! For someone who once said he wasn't a big riffer, he's doing a lot. Ha ha ha, this is cool. Gotta say this, man knows how to lay down a beat.
Thing a gambler ever has is a suitcase and a trunk. The one and only time a gambler satisfied is when he's on a drunk. So now, mothers, tell your children, yeah, not to do what I've done.
Woo! Hello, subs.
Life in fear and misery in the house of the rising.
I love how he's playing with how much harmony is present. This man is effortlessly cool.
Well, I've got one foot on the platform, yeah. The others are.
Oh, that harmony, wow.
I'm going back to New Orleans to where that moment changed.
Woo! Hello. Oh, that's nice. Woo! Hello. Oh, that's gorgeous. I'm so impressed with what Geoff's managed to do with this this guitar VST instrument. Wow, that's really, really cool. Also, I really again, I say this all the time with Geoff and VP's videos, but I love that they have this little album artwork square at the end of every one of their songs. It's always really cool, and the simplicity of this is awesome. But yeah, that is quite stunning. I both did and didn't expect that, in the sense that I knew Geoff was going to do something amazingly cool with it, but I don't think I could have imagined he'd quite the route he'd take. But that's superb. Really, really enjoy that. Well, we're going to go back and watch that again, but as I mentioned earlier, there is a rather cool bonus to the analysis part of this video today. May I please welcome to the video Angie Woollard of Confessions of a Chord Junkie. Hi, Angie.
Hi, David.
Hey, thanks for joining me for doing this.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Hello, everyone. Future David here, coming in from the editing room. A quick note I wanted to drop in about what's to follow. Angie and I recorded an awesome analysis, and I hope that you enjoy it. And when I did so, the screen that I was recording from was two side by side. I had originally planned on recording using one piece of software. That didn't work out, so I had to switch. And for some reason, when I did so, I used Google Meets to record the call, and the recording that it gave me came out in spotlight mode. So we are only visible, or each of us rather, is only visible when we are the one talking. To that end, where I had planned on having two little crops, one for each of us, on the screen throughout this video, I am just going to have one, and it will just cut between Angie and myself, and my apologies for not being able to provide both of them the whole way through. I had hoped to do that, and we live and learn. This is my first time trying this out, and I just didn't quite get that one bit right. If we do one of these again, I will make sure next time that there is a better solution in place. All right, back to Past David. So to give everybody a tiny bit of background, Angie runs a blog called Confessions of a Chord Junkie, where she analyzes a variety of different music, but has done some of Geoff's work. Have you done voice play yet? I can't remember.
I haven't, not
No,
yet.
okay. But Geoff done 07's Somersault. I can't think what else, but done a few things well worth reading if you're interested in breaking down the musicality of some of these in some similar ways to me and some different ways to me. Go and check that out. I will put a link to that up here. You can't see my finger, but it will be up here in just a second. So do go ahead and check the blog out. It's very, very cool. But you have not done any video work yet.
I haven't. No, this is a brand new world for me.
Well, I'm honored to have you. Thank you very much for coming and joining. This should be fun. We both come. I have a channel introduction. You can go and check that out to understand my background. But very, very briefly, for those who haven't seen the channel before, I was trained in musical theatre and musical direction. I've done studio engineering for a little bit. I've done lighting for theatre shows, and I've actually done a small amount of work on both lighting and video editing for film. I've just none of it to a particularly crazy high standard, but I've had a lot of experience across the board, and therefore that's kind of where my interpretation of stuff comes from when I do my analyses. Angie, what was your background that you sort of bring into this?
Well, I've always been into music. Going back to high school, I was big into music theory even back then, and that's just kind of continued throughout my life. Each time I hear a new piece of music, I'm always at my keyboard trying to figure out chords or how they've constructed this and that. And then more recently, in the last 10 years or so, I am actually in a women's barbershop chorus through the organization Sweet Adelines. So barbershop is a whole different type of music that really emphasizes chords and voicings. And so I guess being in that world, now I've got even a bigger appreciation for chords and music theory in general. And I don't know why music theory just tickles me. And I don't have an explanation for that. It's just interesting to see how songs are constructed and how it can evoke sort of a cool emotional reaction, even just through chords. Like obviously lyrics are going to evoke, sadness or happiness or whatever. But sometimes for me, just the chords and how they're constructed can also evoke that. So I just find that all fascinating.
For sure. No, it's a really, really cool topic. And it's one of those things that it's kind of up to you how far down the rabbit hole you dive. And it's an extremely deep rabbit hole. So yeah, I think that the nice thing with this is we decided to do this. Angie pointed out, I can't remember what video it was you watched, and you said, oh, but you picked up on several of the things I also liked. And so we thought this could be really cool because there's bound to be a few things that one picks up, the other doesn't. There will also be things we both enjoy, and we're going to approach all of that with a sort of a solid degree of knowledge each, but coming at it from different directions. So
I'm really
that's
looking
what you
forward
can
to it.
expect. Yeah, me too. This is going to be fun. So you we were just joking. So this is the first time doing a dual setup for one of these things. It's confusing the living daylights out of me because the entire technical setup on my end is completely different to what I would normally do. But we were just saying this was quite comical. You just heard my entire reaction without actually hearing what I was hearing because I was watching straight through YouTube. But we have this rather cool program called SyncWatch that we're going to be using that lets us both watch the same YouTube video simultaneously. So we're going to use that for the purposes of this. I'm just shifting my screen around so that I can make things work. There we go. And so we're going to go through this from beginning to end, and both of us have the ability to stop this video at any point and just kind of talk about what's catching our ear, what's catching our eye, whatever it happens to be. I mean, Geoff's always catching our eye, but you know what I mean. So yes, without any further delay, let's jump into this. You might see a few.
You start,
Yes.
don't start
Something off the top.
Yeah, something right off the top.
I'm going to pick my phone up because Timmy knocked it off in the middle of the reaction. Go for it.
Well, now this is encompassing a huge chunk, so I don't know how we're going to, stop and start this. But what I like about Geoff's videos in general is how he stays true. It's an homage to the original, but really changes it up to his own. So one thing I noticed right off the bat, and we can kind of count this and feel it as we watch the intro, is the beginning. He keeps to that sort of 6/8 feel, and by the third verse, he's totally changed it to 4/4. So that was just, yeah, that was one thing I just wanted to point out for the first two, the two verses, is how he's taken that. And I don't know how he's managed to go from 6/8 to 4/4, because that's a bit of a weird jump. But before we got started, I just wanted to point that out.
No, and it's very true. And I caught it, and I caught it after it had happened. And I think same thing. I'm not quite sure where he does it or how he's done it. It's brilliantly done. And this is a little bit of what I sometimes talk about too, which is I think the best covers out there have a little bit of a tribute. It doesn't have to be a lot, but it does have to at least recognize the source material, because it gives a point of familiarity that gets us into the song in the first place, even while it's potentially going, you know, a completely different route. And in actual fact, in 2 days' time, if you're watching this on day of release, I have another video coming out that is actually kind of, I discuss this a little bit, because it's a completely different iteration of something of Geoff's. Well, a cover that Geoff has done that I have reacted to, I'm now doing again with a different group. And it's fascinating actually seeing the disparity between the two. I'm getting off track, but that's definitely a thought process that's in my mind too. Like, you can see the roots of the song here, but my goodness, he ends up somewhere different.
Totally.
So let's hear that. Oh, and incidentally, just for any who aren't familiar with the terminology, and I may do this a few times, I do this in videos with just me as well, but 6/8 is what we call compound time, and it's when you compress more notes into a gap. So 4/4 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and there's your simple beat. And it is, if you switch it into 6/8, it's 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a. So you're compressing an extra eighth note essentially into the beat.
That kind of a triplet feel.
Yeah. So that's the difference between those two. You can hear it very clearly in this song. Actually, it's a really good example of what the two things sound like, because he does both. Anyway, let's go have a listen. And I don't know how many of my videos you've seen, Angie, but I do have a tendency to stop this thing within about 2 seconds. So that will probably happen.
That's good.
All right. Oh, I've muted it, haven't I? Whoops. This is because I was testing stuff earlier and I did not want to spoil any of the song for myself before we heard it. All right, there we go. Let's try this again.
There is a house in New Orleans they call.
So he does do 6/8, but what's interesting is how much he's pulling around. This caught me straight off the bat. That it's not just da da bum 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 bum. Which is what we'd expect, that sort of 1, 2 and 1. He doesn't stick to that, right? He goes immediately into this sort of riffing world that he's introduced into this song with all these little bits and pieces.
Yeah, it's a little ad-libby, but you can still, I was testing this before I wrote it out, and if you have 6/8 in your head, you can totally still feel it, even though he's kind of pushing and pulling, because like you said, if you just kept it to strict 6/8, that's not quite as interesting. Whereas the ad-lib feel of the intro of this, it's kind of skirting the lines of both of them, of being totally ad-lib, but still keeping that beat that you're going to feel and expect as the song progresses.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's nice. You can get away with being a little bit simpler with your rhythms if you've got an entire band behind you. He doesn't right now. It's just a solo voice. And so I think it makes it more interesting to the ear straight off the bat. Mm-hmm. I do also just want to talk, just since we're stopped, this visual presentation is just gorgeous. I love everything he's done with this set. I can't look up my usual. Oh, no, actually, I probably can. Do I still have the YouTube video open somewhere? Yes, I do. No, I don't. Because one of the things I will sometimes look up is what the credits are that are on this video. So I'm going to do that quickly to see what's what. Because is this a patty cake?
It isn't actually. They found a sort of old, unused, abandoned space somewhere. I don't recall where it is, but
oh, that's cool.
It's not patty cake. It's kind of what you see is what you got. They brought in
awesome
props, but yeah.
I love that. Yeah, so just the usual, everything done by Geoff, arranged, produced, filmed, performed, edited, and then Kathy in production management and Ed doing the audio mixing. This all makes complete sense. But yeah, I love this setup. I think this is stunning. I like this kind of blend of like vintage retro that you've got behind, and then the fact that Geoff himself actually looks relatively contemporary. It's kind of got this new world, old world thing going on a little bit. Everything behind him is so dilapidated or so vintage or retro, and yet he's here with, you know, a smartwatch and a very contemporary clothing. You know, sure, they had this style of lighter back in the day, but this one clearly isn't old. I like that blend. I think
And
there's a
yet
nice.
it still works. Like he's not
Yeah.
wearing, you know, being all in black. It kind of adds to the aesthetic because you've got the black picture frame on the side. You've got the black radio off to the other side. So aesthetically, it all totally works.
Yeah, 100% agree. This is a really good presentation. I'm just going to run us back to the beginning and then pause when something else cool comes up.
There is a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun.
I'm interested in what he's doing vocally here because it's not the House of the Rising Sun. It's the House of the Rising Sun. Like he's adding more voice to consonants that don't necessarily need it.
That's actually another thing that I pointed out when I was analyzing this. Geoff, not just in this song, but in all of his songs, he takes singable consonants and milks them just the right amount. Like you'll notice that he sings the House of the Rising Sun rather than sun, and that just his voice is so resonant, especially on those singable consonants, that I think that's just such a wise choice. So especially in this intro, if you pay attention to any single, so a singable consonant, I guess I should explain what that means, is a consonant that you can still have a note through. So like an N, you can go n, or an S is not singable, an M, but a B, or a D, duh, those would not be singable. So all of Geoff's singable consonants, a Z or Z, sorry if you're American, Z, all of those he really makes good use of to not only to serve the song, but to show us what his voice can do, his amazing resonance.
Yeah. And actually, it's interesting because it's this sort of tallies with. So you're the only one right now who's privy to this, but once this comes out, my reaction to Geoff's Ghost Riders in the Sky will already be on the channel. And one of the things that I noticed in that was he has a lovely pronunciation of windy day, where he actually adds the ND back in again. So windy day.
He does that a lot to anything. Often before a D, he'll put an N, and before a B, he'll put an M.
Yeah. And it allows his vocal quality and sound to just carry on, even in places where if you were singing literally how you speak, it wouldn't do. And that Z on Rising Sun is a great example of that because, as you say, it's singable, it's voiced, where an S is unvoiced.
Exactly.
And so it just gives so much more kind of through line to everything that he's doing, even if it's not technically what we would say if we were saying the words. Yeah. Alrighty. Jumping back a couple of seconds.
Rising sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor boy, and God, I know I'm one.
This man, I remember when I did my Tennessee whiskey reaction, people kept saying, yeah, Geoff keeps saying he can't riff. I'm like, what?
He's come a long way.
Yeah. His confidence level with doing that is, markedly improved, I think, based on what I've heard.
Absolutely.
Which is awesome. I love how much he's playing with this. It gives him so much license to do it the whole way through the song too, because it's been set up in such a simple way. The other thing that caught me with this is that was a prime opportunity right there, and I'm intrigued that he didn't do this for a subharmonic entry for the rest of the group. Like he could have easily gone down on the sun, and I love that he didn't.
I wonder sometimes if, because he's kind of known as a subharmonic guy, that yeah, he likes to make his audience wait for it. And I think even more appropriately, it's got to serve the song. And
Yeah.
while he could have done that in the chord, obviously you can drop a subharmonic anywhere, but to serve the song, it just didn't. It wouldn't feel as appropriate here as it does when he does it later in the song. To me.
Yeah, agreed. His arranging choices in this are superb.
Mhm.
I know I'm one. My mother was a tailor.
Something I wanted to point out at
Yeah,
that phrase right there. If you'll permit me to turn my keyboard on.
please do.
The Animals version, the chord progression that they do, it's, I don't know. Can you hear my keyboard?
I think it's being a little blown out by the microphone, unfortunately.
Oh, that's too bad. Well, I'll play it anyways, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, then I'll just talk about it. But the Animals chord progression is something along the lines of this. Well, the Animals kept to a chord progression of a minor 1. Oh, this is going to be so much harder to describe in words than if I could do it on the keyboard. Suffice to say that Geoff took the chord progression that is all throughout the Animals. It's consistent. All the chords are in root position as they progress through the verses. It's a minor 1, and then we go to the major 3, major 4, major 6. Now, Geoff, in this, it really struck me in this phrase that I just paused it at. He's kept, not only has he changed the chord progression a little bit to keep sort of the first chord is a minor 7, and that's just kind of it's got some warmth to it. It kind of, to me, really fit the setting, like the backdrop that he's got going there. But all of his chords are way closer voiced. They're in different inversions so that it's not progressing up the keyboard as you would hear in the Animals version, but he's just kind of taken the same voicings and done the different inversions to give it way more warmth, which is
Right.
the one thing that really struck me with Geoff's cover. Is it's technically the same song, but boy, does it have a different feel. The Animals was just so bright and more trebly, obviously, and Jess more bassy, obviously, but not just because of his voice, but because of how he's voiced these chords.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely agreed. And it's that in what he's done with changing it, he's kind of made it jazzier, which
Absolutely.
you could predict almost because he's been so riffy in his melody lines. It
Mhm.
kind of naturally leads into a more sort of blues jazz oriented version of this. I
Mhm.
mean, they talk about New Orleans, potentially there's some sort of inspiration come out there from that blues style potentially. I could hear that in some of what he's singing there. But yeah, it's gorgeous. They're very tight chords. He's
Mhm.
keeping everything. The harmony's quite tight. He's not using his full breadth yet, which is great. Leaves us somewhere to go with the song.
Exactly.
But so crunchy.
Yeah,
Really,
and
really nice.
yeah, just this. I've played this particular phrase so many times, just listening to the swirly bluesiness of
Yeah.
this progression.
Yeah. And then he's got that lovely moment of just cutting everything off by closing the lighter.
The lighter,
And
yeah.
I love how much he plays in his videos with physical action that is happening on screen that you wouldn't hear if you were just listening to it on an album, but it plays into the music.
Absolutely.
It's not necessarily it's timed with the music, but it actually integrates itself with the music,
Mhm.
which is just really cool. Let's just jump back. I think this is probably far enough to just hear that sequence again because oh my goodness, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, I'll let you take control.
You got it.
My mother was a tailor.
It's yummy.
Sewed
Mhm.
my new blue jeans. Daddy was a
Sorry, I just wanted
Oh, go for it.
when he does that little riff on "Sewed My New Blue Jeans," the note that he ends up on is actually a really interesting choice. It's oh, I have it written down here because I thought I would probably forget. Yes, he ends on the seven of an interesting chord, and that kind of just, to me, really emphasized the, like, to me, this whole aesthetic and the song and the way he's constructed it's kind of mysterious.
Mm.
And so the listen again on to that riff on "Sewed My New Blue Jeans" and the note that he ends on, it just, I mean, it reminds me of walking down a dark alleyway, a smoky dark alleyway, and you expect a PI to poke his nose out the corner.
I love the film noir interpretation. Yes, that's great.
Exactly.
It's also a really good example of something I've talked about before, which is a melisma, which is a rather wonderful word for when you sing multiple notes, but you're singing the same syllable the whole way through them. And it's just, he just takes jeans all over the place. It's great. But yeah,
Yeah.
let's just jump back to hear that again.
Sewed my new blue jeans. Daddy was a gambling man way down in New
And here's where we're gonna go into 4/4.
It's all done with that guitar, isn't it? I'm going to stop it there. Yeah, it's literally just that guitar entry. It's so sudden, and
Yeah.
yet there's something about it. I didn't actually pick up on it immediately the first time because somehow he's done it so smoothly.
Yeah.
It's
flows
great.
so well.
It really does. And just jumping back, what I do like too about the genes. So yes, you're right. He ends on the seventh of the tonic, but what he does is he creates the illusion of a perfect cadence at that point, because he resolves it back up to minor one, the minor tonic.
Exactly.
But there isn't really a cadence there because it's only the one note leading back in again, and the cadence actually happens at the end of that verse. But he's kind of pre-setting it up, and that's a really cool motion. I didn't quite pick up. I picked up it was an awesome riff. I didn't quite pick up how well he placed it. Which doesn't surprise me in the slightest. But you go through these videos and people will say things like, "Oh, I'm surprised you didn't pick up that he didn't do this," and it's like, do you know how much there is to to catch in any one? It's astonishing the detail, musically, visually, vocal quality wise. Whatever it happens to be, there's so many different, even down to costuming. There's so many different things that get put into these videos. It's impossible to pick up on everything.
Well, I'm not surprised too that, I mean, there's no way you can pick up on everything on one listen. Like, I've listened to this song probably not even exaggerating 100 times, or not in its entirety, but just this phrase over and over. It's just, what is he doing? What is he doing? And then I pick up one, oh, okay, he's doing that. And then that leads me to the next thing. So it's not surprising that you're in the way that you're fashioning your analysis, that you're not going to pick up on, oh, that was the seven of that chord. That takes a little bit of sitting and thinking on it. So
well, and Geoff is a masterful arranger, and if there's one thing masterful arrangers do, it's layer their music full of little intricacies. I remember the very first reaction I did 1 year ago today was the Wicked, A Chance to Fly.
Jumped in with both feet on that one.
Seriously. Well, I was recommended the video by a friend who said, "Hey, you're going to find this awesome. He's in the UK. Can you record what you think about it and send it to me?" And I'd been thinking about doing reactions to something anyway, and I was just like, you know what, sure, why not? If it turns out we're looking good, I'll stick it on YouTube. And here we are a year later. But to this day, I can listen to that and hear something I didn't hear. And I'm thinking one day I'll go back and revisit that and talk about it more, because now I know who everybody is, for a start. I didn't know who anyone was when I watched that. I didn't do any research. I just watched the video, and I was like, oh, this bass is really good. And oh, who's the arranger? Not realizing they're the same person.
Right.
But the amount of detail that goes into what Geoff does, he really, really thinks about it. He's really precise, really specific with what he chooses to do. And some of those details could be so tiny. It could literally be a single voicing in a chord later on it's a recapitulation of something we've already heard, but he does it just differently enough that it takes us somewhere else and things like that. And
Absolutely.
Yeah, anyway, so yes, we will probably both miss things in this video, but that's just the way of these things, unfortunately. There's too much there to get it all.
Absolutely.
All right, let's jump back a fraction and carry on. Good place to start.
This is a section that I wanted to talk about. Geoff is
Me
very
too.
well
You go
known
first.
for writing bridges into songs that are repetitive.
Indeed. Hello,
And
man of
don't
constant sorrow.
exactly. But instead of writing a bridge for this song, he kind of wrote this hook, which bridges in between, well, bridges in between the verses as a bridge would. And what I found interesting about how he's done this particular section of it is it starts with just a single voice. Then he's chorused it. He's double tracked it. And then the third time he sings it, it's octaved.
Yep.
So it's even though it's such a simple little riff, it's like 4 notes or something. It's leading you, it's building, it's leading you into the next verse, and it's getting bigger and bigger. So again, just a good example of how something doesn't have to be like huge and grand. It just has to have the right formula. And Geoff just has really he's honed in on that formula to take the listener on such a journey, even with just these 4 notes, and how he's layered it and made you eager to anticipate the next verse.
This is one of those moments where you picked up on exactly the same thing. If you hadn't paused then, I was going to.
Oh,
And I
nice.
love the build is so great, and I love that he also kind of twins it with adding the claps or making the guitar do slightly more. But the vocal, it barely goes anywhere, and it goes so far all at the same time.
Exactly.
It's a wonderful example, and I go on and on and on and on in Voice Play and Geoff videos about evolution throughout the videos, but it's a brilliant example of that because he's doing the smallest things and yet really developing the sound in the process. It's quite fantastic. I've been talking a lot in recent videos too about simplicity, and I think you've hit the nail on the head there too. A 4-note ostinato basically that's going on there that is so simple, and yet he does so much with it, and it's memorable because it's so simple. Like some of
Exactly.
the best hooks are 4, 5, maybe 6 notes, and they don't need to be more than that as long as what you do with them is sort of interesting and well thought out.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to jump back hopefully far enough to start that so folks can listen in on what we were just talking about.
1 minute before it starts. Yeah. Single voice, double tracked, and we get the octave.
So good.
Oh, me too.
Stop! This is the problem with both of us being able to control the video.
Sorry, hands off.
No. It's all good. This is one of the things of us doing it this way, but it's the best way to do it because we can pick our moments.
There's two things in this spot, but you go first.
Okay, well, the thing that I really wanted to stop on is there's an astonishing moment in here, and I'm not sure if it's a sub or something else, but he just drops for a fraction of a second by I think a fifth, but I need to listen to it again to be sure. But the one of the things I'm rarely kind of taken aback. I'm still always amazed, but I'm rarely taken aback by how low Geoff can go now. Like I've heard his B-zeros in Valhalla Calling. I know how low he can go. It's always astonishing. But it's not. It doesn't. The physicality of it doesn't surprise me. What does get me is how effortless he makes all of this sound. The fact that he could be singing all the way down here, and it's just he's done this and he's I can't even hit a note doing it that fast, and he
Mhm.
just drops down and comes back up again like it was nothing.
Like a scoop up into the note.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's so fast. Like it's one thing to hear him do one of his that's
Mhm.
fine, that's what it is. But
Mhm.
that just literally in the space of I think an eighth note, he went dropped down a fifth and came back up again, or whatever the interval is. I'll clarify that. But um, the vocal agility he manages to reach, crossing into different vocal styles, is mind blowing.
Absolutely. Now,
Yeah.
what I was going to talk about is
Hmm.
the one, I wouldn't call it a negative thing about this song, but one thing that each time I hear it, I go, oh, am I permitted to talk about something that's less than awesome?
Oh, certainly. Constructive or sort of thought through criticism is something I try and put on here as much as I can. So yeah, go for it.
So Geoff has changed the lyrics here to kind of fit more of his vibe, the kind of bluesy, just kind of a Geoff vibe. I don't know if that makes sense,
Yep.
but this is not in the original lyrics, but he has changed it to the one and only thing a gambler ever has is a suitcase and a trunk. So that's two things. He said the one and only thing, and then he told us two things that a gambler has. And each time I hear that, I'm like, oh, that's not right.
I didn't catch it, but now that you said it, yeah, it should
I'm
be. I
sorry.
feel like it should be a suitcase or a trunk.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I guess they're in many ways they're a similar thing, just size different. But yes, I
So
hadn't caught that.
I guess lyrically and rhythmically that makes sense with now how he's shifted it to 4/4. Maybe he needed um an extra beat in there, an extra syllable. I'm not sure, but it always makes me chuckle. It doesn't like ruin the song for me or anything, but I'm like, oh Geoff, that's not one thing, that's two things.
Very fair, very fair. Alrighty, let's just jump back on that a second. I want to hear what that note was too, because I'm
Mhm, mhm.
fascinated by
Me
that.
too, me too.
I think that.
It
Oh,
sounds
I
like
just saw the trunk close.
yes, and there's a sound effect that goes along with that.
There is, but I caught the sound effect before, but I didn't see it visually. This is one
Oh,
problem with having a very wide screen. If I'm staring at the dead center, sometimes things on the periphery get missed.
fair.
I think he dropped an octave. Did he drop an octave?
That sound like a fifth to me.
Is
Oh, maybe you're right.
I think it's an effective octave. It might not be an actual octave, but it's the illusion that he's created by what he's done.
Mhm,
It's just so quick. Is a suit.
mhm. I
Wow,
mean,
damn.
he does that so often, I think it's almost second nature. I
Yeah,
it doesn't sound like a planned move. It
right.
sounds like, that's just how he's saying it in the moment. I'm
Yeah,
sure I'm sure it was a little bit more thought out than that, but that's just kind of one of the signature moves, so it makes sense that
for sure.
he did that.
But that's another thing that makes his singing so great is he manages to make it sound. And this, I think, comes from because they've all had some sort of experience within, maybe not literal musical theatre, but within the musical theatre sort of spectrum and
Right.
oeuvre.
Mhm.
Is I think one thing that comes out of that is every time you sing a song, if I go out on stage and I'm playing Curly in Oklahoma and I go out on stage and I sing Oklahoma, it has to sound like the first time I've ever sung Oklahoma. I'm having those thoughts in the moment as the character on stage.
Right.
And Geoff and all of voice play, I think, are very good at bringing that into what they do. They make it sound like it's something that's just happening in the moment,
Right. Yeah,
which is an incredible skill, especially for something that has obviously been very thought through and includes quite a lot of vocal agility.
exactly.
Actually, kind of counter to what Geoff does with it, I would actually say the same thing of Earl. When he was with the group, he could go right up into the stratosphere,
Mhm.
and it didn't sound like it was something he was like, "Here we go, I'm going to go up." He was just up there all of a
That's
sudden.
just what he did, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite astonishing. But yeah, anyway,
Keep an eye
nice
for
Geoff.
keep an eye on that trunk this time.
I was going to say, catch it on the way by.
Yeah.
great.
A gambler satisfied is when he's on a drunk. So now, mothers, tell your children, yeah, not to do what I've done.
Oh,
I mean, that's always wonderful to hear, isn't it?
that never ceases to make me happy. Now, here's a little you said that you'd missed the visual of the trunk closing, even though you did hear it. In this instance, just as Geoff hits the subharmonic, there's the sound of a match strike. Pay attention to the candle over his right shoulder that will suddenly illuminate.
Oh, they're getting clever.
Right?
Oh, that I did. Yeah, I missed that too. There's this, and this is why I say we never can catch anything doing something like this.
Oh,
because
something new every time.
Tiny details.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. What I wanted to say about this section is I really like that when he comes in at the beginning of this, "So now" is vocally sung by all four of him.
Yeah.
And then the other three just drop straight back to ooze again.
But it doesn't
It's so-
sound empty. Like it's crafted such that it's still full and yeah.
Yeah, it is. And it lays such a nice emphasis on the beginning of the verse. And then everyone else just backs off and lets him get on with it.
Mhm.
And it's really nicely put together. I love the fact that it gives space for. As of Ghost Riders, I've started calling him Prime Geoff because I don't know which of the Geoffettes is which. But it leaves space for Prime Geoff to just carry on being the focal point, and like it gives him it enables, like we're here where we're seeing just him, we're not missing anything else going on, we're hearing this lovely harmony come in, but he's still the focal point. And that's true in terms of the way that the words versus vocalizing has been structured as well. Which is really cool. I want to go back now and see this candlelight because that's just, I love these details. It's great.
Like a little Easter egg.
Brilliant.
Cool, right? Yeah.
Ooh, those chords too, that lovely rising harmony there. As the other three kind of climb up through. This is something I've kind of, I called it in Ghost Riders, I said it's kind of like a Geoff chord in the sense that it's something he comes back to a lot, where he has something that it has the minor seventh in it somewhere, but he hasn't structured it as the dominant chord. He structured it with something else that leans on the seventh. And he did it in Ghost Riders, and he's done it again just here. And it's something I'm beginning to associate with him almost the way that you associate a "come on" somewhere in the video. Like it's one of his trademarks almost. And it's such a lovely chord. He uses it to such great effect anytime he does. And I love that here, it's built up to, and it has its little moment, and you don't hold on it. It doesn't hang around. He just drops back into continuing again. But it's just, it seems to be, based on my experience thus far, and I haven't gone back and checked older reactions I've done, but I feel like it's something he hits fairly regularly, and it's really effective.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, because I've done, I think this might be my 5th or 6th Geoff Castellucci song that I've analyzed, and it is one of his, he tends to like these chords that are not just, there's a time and a place for a simple vanilla chord to from A to B, but he really does enjoy, like you said, the minor sevenths, sort of a nice diminished passing chord, the occasional augmented chord, which delights me. But this song is, the perfect vehicle for a minor seventh chord, just because it is, I don't know, to me, it feels, like I said, sort of mysterious, a film noir kind of feel to it. So that he's peppered it not only in a low voicing, but as we get higher too, it just kind of creates a little bit more complexity to, just for a second here, think back to the Animals version where you've got, granted, it's a really interesting chord progression that they've used, but they're all sort of basic. They're all in root position. It's kind of repetitive. It's not kind of repetitive. It's very repetitive.
It is.
Whereas Geoff has used that sort of basis, but he's peppered in, like you said, these minor sevenths that just kind of make it a little bit more interesting and cohesive to me.
Yeah, and it's kind of, to a certain extent, if thinking back to that chord progression, they've sort of taken the 1 minor 6 4 5 sort of trope that exists, but done something different with it in the way that they've gone minor 1 3 4 6. It's kind of, you're working around a similar tone across the board, but rearranged, revoiced, changed it around a little bit. And then it feels like what Geoff's done here is he's taken all of that one step further. And then he has those lovely passing chords where he just he just brushes past them on the way to the next thing, but they fill it, and it kind of serves the harmonic purpose that the riffs serve his melody.
Exactly.
Where it's taking us from point A to point B, but it's doing it and it's being cool in the process, which I love.
Me too.
Great stuff. Yeah, thought you might. All right.
This is something that I wanted to point out is now we've got his sort of bridge again, which is just this sort of 4-note blues riff that he's did. We heard it earlier in the song where it was the single voice doubled and then octave. Now he's taken it again. And that time in the beginning of the song, he repeated it 3 times. Here we've got it, I think 4 times, where he's introduced it. But now we've got this kind of nice descant from one of the, or maybe it might be more than one. I don't know if it's doubled there, but we've got sort of counter melody to this bridge that he's written. Again, just starting small at the beginning of the song and making it bigger and bigger and bigger, yet still incorporating those elements that we heard from the beginning of the song, because you do need that cohesion to not confuse your listener, but just adding and adding and adding. So I just really love how he's included this higher sort of counter melody to the lower bluesy riff that he introduced earlier in the song.
Yeah, and it's another great example of that evolution in the sense that it starts off. Now, the first iteration here, we actually get kind of like a from the chorus come through.
Yes.
But that's kind of finishing off the previous phrase in a way. It's just nice. It's nice that it overlaps this. But we have the same thing, and we have just the single Geoff. Then it goes, I think, is it called prime unison, where everyone's in unison, but also in the same register, I think. But then instead of adding the octave, you add that descant instead. So it's changed up slightly. The guitar's also doing slightly more than it did last time. Like everything's building a little bit more. Yeah. And even though we've come back down from the verse into the bridge, which is ostensibly a little bit kind of less fancy and a little quieter and a little bit more sort of held back for a second, it's re-evolving in and of itself. So not only is it further than it was before, but he's doing that thing again where he pulls it back only to build again. Which is just, it's great construction.
It's brilliant.
I love that he's added this. I think it's really effective for the song. As you say, the original is very repetitive, which is fine. It's a product of its time. It's superb. It does exactly what it needs to do, but it wouldn't be what you'd want to necessarily hear done in this style. I think it would tire quickly.
Or you wouldn't want to hear it from Geoff either in that range, in that style. I believe what Geoff said when he was surprised that so many people had requested this song from him. He said, who wants to hear me scream a high C throughout the whole song? It's like, no, you're right. Please do something different with it.
Yes, absolutely. If it was a voice play arrangement and you started throwing Ellie up there, then we've got something a little bit different. But for a Geoff doing a Geoff quartet, no, this is definitely what we want. I'm just going to see if I can hit. Where do you have the start of this bridge time coded?
No.
All right, here's a random guess.
Brilliant. So end of that phrase, like you said. And here comes the descant.
And what I also didn't catch the first time, but you've got that lovely sort of just coming from the guitar so faintly in the background as the descant comes in. So what's nice there is they've both gone up at the same time, and the focus is slightly more. They're both in the back of the arrangement, like they're not level. In terms of sort of verticality of the arrangement, they're not level with Prime Geoff. They're both behind, but the guitar's slightly further behind still. You kind of have to strain to hear it a little bit. And I love that it's just those things that create effect, including you. Yes, you created effect. Come and say hi again.
Just wanted to sing along.
Yeah, he does that. He's very annoyed with me right now. I don't know why. He's had all the food he deserves. He's just apparently some cats have a gene that says I've eaten enough food, and some cats don't. And ginger cats in particular, I've heard, if I understand correctly, are less likely to have it. He doesn't. He says it's been half an hour. Where's the next one? Anyway. But yeah, I love the fact that he's evolving the guitar and the vocals simultaneously, and it's allowing things to move on, but it's not, he doesn't have to spread it out. There's no need to in the way that he's arranged this. Everything can shift around as it does. And it's so subtle, but it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, I've got one foot on the platform, yeah. The other's on the train.
One thing that to point out here, and we'll have to go back and start this phrase over again. This is a section, kind of another Geoff, something that he likes to do a lot in his arrangements, because I've been paying attention. So he's gone in this section. He will have gone from a G sharp 4 down to a G sharp 1 within this one phrase. He likes to, and I'm here for it, but he likes to really emphasize. Well, this might not be why he's doing it, but this type of thing really emphasizes his full range. Not only can he's known as the bass singer, but his high stuff is equally as beautiful and effortless sounding. But I really like this section of all of Geoff's songs is when he's giving us the whole show.
Yeah, absolutely. I also love, again, we've had that further evolution too coming in, and it because it's come out of that bridge again, it's earned because we're already building, and so we can build a little further out the end of it, where we now get this real drum beat coming in.
Right.
Like now it's kind of filled out completely. I don't think it goes further than this. So now we have the full array, but then also that beautiful harmony he sings on the second line. I think it sounded on sort of a second sort of rush by it. I think it's just a standard third harmony. I don't think there's anything particularly crazy about it. It's just gorgeous.
And gorgeous and high, which is not what you expect from when you read, bass singer cover. You're not thinking, oh, this guy's going to go high. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you have a time code for this one?
I do. 2:22.
2:22. So that should be gorgeous.
Beautiful. So many things to talk about in this section.
Oh, yes.
From my point of view, a couple of them being, again, because I've studied Geoff's arrangements in so many of his songs, there's always one section where the background singers take the lead.
Right.
Now, it might not be the exact melody, but they take the lead. They take all the lyrics. And what did you call him? Prime Geoff?
Yeah.
Prime Geoff just sits back for a second. And it's almost like Prime Geoff here is the background singer, because he's interjecting a few little things as the background singers are in their full glory, taking the lead here. The second thing that I found interesting about this particular passage is, again, how Geoff likes to make sure that it's an homage to the original song, is now he's taken this verse into the Animals chord progression, which he didn't do at the very beginning. He kind of morphed it into a little bit more of a bluesy, minimal progression. Here, this verse is exactly in the Animals chord progression, and I think that gives a little bit more excitement because there's one extra chord in this progression that kind of I guess it builds a little bit more, it goes a little bit higher. But I just thought that was a really cool way to make the end of the song different and more interesting as we go along, because the song is so repetitive. If you had the same chord progression throughout the whole thing, it gets a little tedious perhaps. Whereas now he's like, okay, well, I do need to use this chord progression because that's part of the Animal song, but I'm going to hold it until the end of the song where it's kind of a little bit more, it's a juicy surprise.
Yeah, it's an incredibly smart move. I actually really like that he did that. I think it shows such both the care he takes over his arrangements, but the skill he has. If you weren't paying attention, you probably wouldn't notice that that's what he's done. It would just because he's made his own version of that so smooth and integrated it so well, you kind of don't really notice he's sliding back into the original. And I think that's just another sort of indication of what a master arranger he really is.
Absolutely.
It's quite extraordinary. But yes, I also agree with you on the previous point too. Like I love that moment where the chorus takes on. He's almost now got whatever the bass version of a descant is. Like that's really kind of what he's doing.
Yes.
Right? It is. If you had a descant, they would probably be doing this, but he's inverted that.
That's a really cool way of looking at it.
Yeah, I love it when he does this. It's just it's nice because he has the chops for it. Like he can create incredible harmony with himself, which isn't the easiest thing, especially because the vocal tone is going to be so similar. If I sing a bunch of sibilants, for example, is a great word, my S's will all sound the same, and so it can be tricky to create something where the consonant enunciation and pronunciation is going to be the same across the board. He somehow manages, and several people do this, but he's a really good example of it, of making it sound like a chorus, even though it's all him.
Yes, that's something that I've pointed that out to him in one of his web chats. I asked him, so what is it that you do to make you, because you do hear a lot of multi-trackers who multi-track, and all of their voices sound the same because their voice is the same because it's the same person. Yet for Geoff's, I wonder if it's because of the range. Obviously his high stuff is going to sound a little bit different in his vocal production than the mid-range or the lower. So
that makes a lot of sense, actually. It could well be that. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, it certainly gives him a lot of flexibility in what he could do with his voice. But if that is, especially because he's also using slightly different vocal techniques, he's in a different register, he might be growling a little bit, there might be a little bit of fry, you might be in subs, it is going to sound different. Yeah, good observation. I like
Angie.
it. Oops.
I wanted to point out here, the background singers twice sing "And God, I Know I'm One."
Right.
The first time, to me, that last verse, that was like the whole enchilada. You've got all the instrumentation, all the background vocals, the guitar, the drum, like everything it's the high point of the song. I think it's in its energy. And now another thing that I find Geoff does really good is brings it back down. So when the background singers sing "And God, I Know I'm One," they sing it twice. The first time it's in a higher voicing a little bit louder. The second time, he's actually brought the voicing down.
Mm.
You know, you got to bring it down to a more quiet, a quiet room to finish the song. So I thought it was interesting how it not only did it get quieter in volume, but lower in voicing to just kind of calm you back down after that really cool last verse.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think that's the thing. He's not just a master of build; he's also a master of the sort of the descent again afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes complete sense to me. Fully agreed. Oops, where am I going? There we go. Turn back a tiny bit further so we can hear that.
Higher. Now, this might be a strange point to pause a song, but he ends his songs very interestingly. And what I thought was an interesting choice here was to have the guitar ring out on the minor third of the chord, kind of emphasizing the minorness, the mystery, the overall feel and vibe of the song as we're pulling back to see this dilapidated setting that he's set in. I thought having the minor third ring out as a harmonic on the guitar was just such a cool and brilliant way to end the song.
Absolutely agreed. And I think what's interesting about that guitar line too is it's actually quite active. Like as the vocals, both with the group and with Prime Geoff alone, are kind of pulling back and starting to pull on the tempo a little bit. There's a little bit of a rallentando coming into this.
Yeah.
The guitar stays surprisingly busy. Like it's got it's I think it's sort of plucking in 8 notes pretty much the entire way through until the very, very last note, which is just an interesting counterpoint.
I actually didn't notice that.
Quite slow. I think I'm right about that. It's certainly doing a little bit more than you might expect as we come down. You could almost expect it just to be like, house strum of the rising strum, sing sun strum. And it could be something quite simple like that, but he's kept it doing a little bit more than that. And it's just an interesting kind of bleed out of the energy that it's had through the song. I'm going to go back on that and check myself in case I'm talking
I'd like to hear
nonsense,
that.
which has happened a couple of times, but...
No, you're absolutely right in that.
Oh, and that lovely ring out. I go on about this all the time, but for goodness sake, people, let your songs breathe at the end.
Well, there's a time and a place, I suppose.
There is, but
this one ended appropriately.
You kind of there's a couple of videos where the chord is still ringing, it hasn't dried yet, and they cut to them saying thank you for watching or something like that, and it's just it makes me twitch. But I love, and what I did notice that time too is the final note of the guitar is, I think, or rather I should say Geoff's final note lands on, I think, the third last note of the guitar. Like it's still finishing its little rhythm that it's playing there as he settles on that last the final tonic at the end there. And it's just so nice because it's everything's winding down, but it's not necessarily winding down at exactly the same pace, and there's no reason it should, especially with an arrangement like this. It's got that room to breathe a little bit, and he's used that and manipulated it very, very well, I think, to create the sound that he's got in this.
Absolutely.
It's so good.
It's so good. So good.
Really,
Let's
really
go listen to it again.
Yeah, right. Very, very tempting. But I should call this video for now. Here, I'll put it back to me for a second, and we'll debrief in a minute. Thank you so much to Angie for joining me for this video. It was so much fun to do this in a different way. I hope you folks enjoyed it as much as I did. That's a really, really cool song. done so well by Geoff, and I absolutely adore everything that he put into it. And I really appreciate the different perspectives here, and I hope that's something that was brought to you as well. So I really appreciate Angie's time coming on and doing this with me, especially as a first-time video person, which you wouldn't have known, I don't think. I think did a phenomenal job. So yes, hopefully you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching with me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for joining Angie as well. And please do like the video, hit that subscribe button. Let me know what you think about this way of doing things, by the way. Are the collaborations cool? Let me know your thoughts. Hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Do please, if you would like to, head over to buymeacoffee.com/David K Reacts, and also go over and check out confessionsofaChordJunkie.com. I will once again put that link up here so that you can go over and check that out. It's a fantastic blog. Angie does some wonderful work on it, and if you've enjoyed what she had to say here, you'll really enjoy that. I think that's it for this week. Thank you. Well, not for this week. That's a total lie. That's it for today's episode. More videos coming later this week because it's Halloween month. Please do check them out if you are interested. Thank you for watching. Have an absolutely wonderful afternoon, morning, evening, 2:17 a.m., wherever it happens to be when you are watching this. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.